Hello everyone, myself Jatin Varu. Today, me and my fellow presenter like Hiral Veitha and Jai Solanki spread to some light on what is comparative literature today by Susan Bassnett. Table of content. I will deal with abstract key points and key arguments of this article. Susan Bassnett article explain what is comparative literature is and how it has changed over time. It's look at how this field compare works from different culture and language, going to beyond the study just one country's literature. The article also talk about the role of translation, points out problems with focusing too much on Europe, and highlights the importance of including diverse perspective. It suggests that comparative literature should be open to new ideas and connect with other fields as the world become more globalized. The research problem of this article is the traditional literature studies mainly focus on European works and ignore the other culture. Objective of this article, the goal is to make comparative literature more inclusive by including works from different culture and languages along with translation studies. The methodology of this article, the author Susan Bassnett looks at the history and example in the field, showing how translation and new ideas can be make comparative literature more open. Key finding: comparative literature should include global perspective, diversity, voice, and work with other fields to stay relevant. Key points of this article: comparative study explores the text from various cultures, focusing on how they are connected across time and space. Basically, comparative study is an interdisciplinary field, is not stuck on any one nation's literature. It's also involved the other nation literature and also a historical background and cultural element also. While globalization has made global literature more accessible, it has contributed to cultural homogenization. Comparative literature help counter this by fostering deeper appreciation from diverse culture and perspective. Key argument of this article: interdisciplinary connection. The comparative literature is not just about the comparing books, but also exploring the connection between them. It's look at how stories, ideas, and themes link together across different culture and times, beyond nation and world literature. As we discussed, the comparative literature is not stuck on any particular nation literature. It's also considered as an interdisciplinary terms. Focus on text. The main goals is to carefully read and analyze the text themselves. While culture and historical backgrounds are considered, the focus remains on understanding the world's themes and style of the books. Accessible to all. Comparative literature is not just for expert of academic. Anyone who enjoy reading books from different culture and exploring their meaning is already part of it. A constant evolving field. A comparative literature keeps growing and changing as new ideas, technology, and global trends emerge. It includes a new approach like a feminist post-colonial study and use digital tools to stay relevant and existing. My learning outcome from this article: understanding what comparative literature is. From this article, I got idea about what is comparative literature and how it complex. Learning how to compare a story. Comparative literature is not just about the compare two texts or two words. It's also connected with historical background, cultural element, and society and politics also. Appreciating other culture. The article totally declined the idea of Eurocentric literature Eurocentric idea in literature, and it's also appreciating the other cultures and other countries' literature also. Thinking critically about the story, the article opens a new way for us to think about the works and text. Okay, so this is, and from my side, from here, Hiral will take the charge. I will like to invite Hiral Veitha.
Hello everyone. I will deal with the core content of the article. As we know that how comparative literature will work. So basically the comparative literature is according to Bassnett, that is the study of text from the different cultures and different views. So it is a interdisciplinary focus and understanding on the connections between the literatures and across the time and space traveling. So most of the people don't start with the comparative literature, but they find their way to express their feeling and what they are thinking about the literature or the world. So basically, one subject feels that too narrow, and others might be driven explore the similarities. So it's among the between text and author from the different cultures and background. Some are the inspired that, according to Matthew Arnold's view, that in what he expressed in the 1857 inaugural lecture at Oxford University, that everywhere there is a connection, everywhere there is a illustration. No single event, no single literature are adequately inherent except in relation to other events, to other literatures also. So, by continuing the article's observation, that is the Gothes introduced that the terms of world literature in the describe that comparative literature is because of the breakdowns, borders, bringing all the literature closer together, all the merge all the ideas, and it's like that we are talking with each other. That comparative study work in that manner. So also this comparative literature promoting the harmony of the literature. And in the late 20th century, critics were still debating on the same questions about the comparative literature. And it's like that some of the question included like what should be the focus on the study of comparative literature, how can comparative comparison itself to be studied, and how does the comparison choose what to compare. So, is comparative literature is formal, disciplinary, or just field of study? They will question have persisted since 1950s. And when Wick referred to the crisis of comparative literature, it's early as 1903 that Bennett argued that comparative literature was not the separate subject, but he suggested that its art and its literary history, and specifically comparative literature and the history should not be proper and focus on the study or on the topic, but it's according to him that literature must be understood within the historical context or more than that. And he was also focusing that it's connecting to be the larger literacy history, that he dismissed that term of comparative literature in the one place, and saying it that it's obscured that the fact of literary history towards the true object of the study on the particular topic. So, in the contrast, some scholars like Charles Mills, they promoted that the idea of comparative literature explored the literature as the universal through of the conversation, like shaped by various social, cultural, and historical factors, as we all know, and it's echoed this view in the 1974 that comparative literature represents a broader view towards the literature and offering the comprehensive the understanding of the global cultural global thoughts towards among each other, and it's all merged into the kind of like a literary work. And while the Western scholars debated on the role of the comparative literature, they found that in the field was gaining a transition in the other parts of the world, that now that in the new comparative literature programs they appeared in the countries like China, Japan, Taiwan. However, this all the regions comparative literature was often focused on the specific literary work or the tradition or the culture, that unlike Western focus on the universalism. And as a Swapna Mazumdar notes that the focus on the national literature has to lead towards the strong presence of comparative literature in the countries like India also. So we can say that the comparative literature is not the one kind of, we can say that the the thing that which we can put it in the one country or one space. So post-colonial theorists like Homi Bhabha have also pointed that instead of simply cross the referencing text, that we let's focus on the should be on the complexity of the work and the literature. So, in the productive mixing the cultural ideas, Wolsoinka and other African critics have to be critic the European philosophers like Hegel, and who wrongly portrayed the African culture inferior. And also James argued found that European culture is still reconciling with the black culture, and it's showing that the cultural separation was more historical construct than the natural difference in the skin tone or in the thought process also. So, as per my observation, that beyond the Eurocentrism, this article focus more on like in the literary view, and this article shift on the focus that if we can say that in the literary text, we think that we are talking about this space or this region or this country, but later on we by studying this article we found that comparative literature is not the part of any particular region, any particular culture, or any particular country also. So this article that questioning the boundaries, that how it not the part of the only particular thing or any particular thought or any particular person. And also this article encouraged the cross cultures, that we should believe in cross cultures, that we should believe in the like in the multiple thoughts, and we should appreciate others thoughts also in the literature, and we should accept our mistakes, that if we have mistaken in something, that which another person will pointing that this is your mistake and I'm arguing on this and that to you, so we should appreciate him that no, it's my mistake, and you pointed my mistake and I will take care of about it. So that's it my side. I will call Jai for further discussion.
Thank you, Jatin and Hiral, for providing introduction and core content of the article. So now I will going to list some of the writer who also argue and pointed out and also suggest some of the things that how comparative literature and how it's shaped in the culture as well. So first is Terry Eagleton, that he also argue about that literature, as we understand it, it is a form of ideology. He explained that the rise of English literature as academic subject in the 19th century was connected to the political changes after World War I. So literature served both as a source of comfort for the English people and a way of exploring their identity. So we can find out about the European people, as I mentioned in the article, how their subject was defined in the about the identity, their identity. Other one is Ganesh Devi, that he pointed out that comparative literature in India emerged alongside the rise of Indian nationalism. So it's also highlight the fact that the term comparative literature came about during a time of national struggle in the Europe. So we can find out in Europe how the struggle is going on, and in between the comparative literature take a big part in that. Where the idea of national identity and the culture was heavily debated. So this both things are debated about in Europe. Other one is David Demner, that in his book What is World Literature, he discussed the role of comparative literature and emphasized the importance of translation in connecting the different cultures. So we can find out how different cultures in every country are given in the book. Also, he also mentioned about that. Even Zohar suggests that translation is especially important when a culture is going through a period of change or expansion. In contrast, when the culture feels secure and dominant, translation becomes the less of the priority. We can find out if in the culture when the people are more secure about that, but the translation is not there giving the priority. The last one is the Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak. So she noted that comparative literature and the area studies can work together to promote not only the national literatures of the global south, but also the enriched language that are disappeared around the world. We can find out that some of the language are not there. Like if we find out that mostly the country are speaking English, but that's not like if we find out the French is not like too much speaking English or they are not speaking that way. So Spivak also believes that comparative literature should always cross borders, and as its relevance depends on the changing time and global context. We can find out the change of the literature, comparative literature, how it's involved in the people and how it's in time to time they are changing as well. So conclusion, we can find out how comparative literature, how work and how Susan Bennett also giving or arguing or pointed out some of the things as well. Comparative literature is a broad, evolving field, not a single discipline. It has been shaped by many different theories and approaches. It also historically goes back to the early 19th century and in the 20th century. Its focus more study literary texts from the different cultures. As I said, there are many countries and there are different cultures are provided, and how they're seen as the literature, how they're seen comparative literature, how they argue and pointed out some of the things as well. It also began to include ideas from the fields like anthropology, sociology, and linguistics. Recently, post-structuralist and post-colonial theories have influenced the field and leading to the greatest focus how literary shape cultural identity and the power. So the thing is how cultural identity are providing the different countries, how literature shape in their time. In today's time, comparative literature is more diverse and open, offering a new way to understand the world. So we can find out today's time how literature shapes us, that how we see the literature is not like some of the way, like if we are telling some of the truth or some of the fact, that only way we can, but we are also criticizing or we are arguing in that also. So this is one. Now I'm going to tell the how my learning outcome and how what I am understand from this article. So as I analyze the article, I come to know the literature is very important in the cultural power, cultural, and how we shape the people, country, and other writers who are writing on the literature. I also understand the translation impact on the global literary exchanges. Also, I understand the Magellan voice in the global literature, that how they appreciate in this kind of the global literature. How they in the today's time also we find out that a lot of writer, a lot of author are in a way not some of the writer are also mentioning about the literature, how they understanding about that, how they're suggesting their point of view as well, applying the post-colonial perspective to comparative study. As I understand about this thing, that post-colonial, we can find out that mostly we not in a way talking about the post-colonial things, but when we come to know about the comparative literature, then we also connect with the post-colonial, explore the interdisciplinary approach to literature. So some of the literature are very vast to understand and very well to describe as the writer, as an author, or as any particular person who are not very thoughtful for the comparative literature. Recognize the evolution of nature and comparative literature. As I come to know, as I not very interested in the comparative literature, but when I starting to think about or giving my personal view, then I come to know that comparative literature also made a very huge role in the all the countries or on the culture as well. So yeah, this is references, and thank you so much. This is from our side.
My question to Jitin, that how can comparative literature stay relevant in globalized world?
comparative literature still stay relevant in globalized world because comparative literature hits the areas of global literature and global culture, and it adopt all the element of different countries and their culture also. And comparative literature is also adapt the global changing and political elements and involved in itself. So that's why we can say the comparative literature is still relevant in modern time also. Thank you.
My question is to Hiran. What role does translation play in shaping the future of comparative literature?
So the comparative literature is basically, we know that the comparative literature help us to connect with the people globally and the universally. So based on that, we focus that in the today's time and in the future also we can focus more on that connection, and like time passed away, we feel that the arguments and previous time era and all the observation was relevant, and we found that all the things and all the works and the connection is still relevant, and still the connection is becoming more powerful towards the nation, to the nation, people to the people. And we can say that if one person or one author will trying to convince on their perspective or on their views, so we still connect with him or her, which we read, and which he or she written in the like many years ago. So that is the connection between the comparative studies and the translation play